Silence makes people uncomfortable. Not boredom, not confusion, silence. And what most people don't realize is this: silence doesn't just feel awkward. It makes people nervous, sometimes anxious, sometimes defensive, sometimes reckless. Stay till the end, because once you understand why silence has this effect, you'll realize how often people expose themselves just because nothing was said. Think about the last time someone stopped talking mid-conversation. No explanation, no follow-up, just silence. What did your brain do? It didn't relax. It didn't wait calmly. It started filling the gap. What did I say wrong? Are they upset? Should I explain? Should I say something? That reaction isn't weakness. It's wiring. Here's the hidden rule. Silence removes feedback. And when humans lose feedback, they lose control. Most communication isn't about words. It's about signals, nods, smiles, responses, reactions. These signals tell your brain, you're safe, you're understood, you're doing fine. Silence takes all of that away. And when feedback disappears, the brain assumes risk. That's why silence feels heavy. It forces the mind to guess. And humans are terrible at guessing. We almost always assume the worst. Notice how people react to silence in different situations. In meetings, silence makes people talk too much. In arguments, silence makes people defensive. In dating, silence makes people anxious. In negotiations, silence makes people reveal information. Same silence, different setting, same effect. Let's talk about meetings. Someone presents an idea. They finish, and nobody says anything. What happens next? The presenter starts talking again. They clarify. They add details. They justify decisions. Not because they were asked, but because silence feels like rejection. Now think about arguments. Someone says something strong. The other person goes quiet. No yelling, no reaction, just silence. That silence often feels worse than anger, because anger still gives information. Silence gives none, so people push harder. They say more. They escalate. They expose emotion. Silence does something powerful. It shifts pressure. The moment silence enters a conversation, pressure moves to the person who wants resolution the most. And that's rarely the person who stays quiet. This is why silence is used in interrogations. Not yelling, not threats, silence. People start talking just to escape it. They explain things nobody asked. They correct things that weren't wrong. They volunteer details. Silence doesn't force truth. It invites it. Here's something most people don't notice. Silence feels personal, even when it isn't. Your brain interprets silence as judgment, not logically, emotionally. That's why text messages with no reply feel heavy. No tone, no expression, no context, just silence. And suddenly your mind creates a story, usually the wrong one. This is also why confident people use silence naturally. Not because they're trying to intimidate, but because they're not rushing to remove discomfort. They're comfortable letting others feel it. Watch someone who lacks confidence. They hate silence. They talk fast. They fill gaps. They answer questions before they're fully asked. Silence makes them feel exposed. Now watch someone with authority. They pause. They don't respond immediately. They let silence sit, and everyone else adjusts to them. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The person who fears silence the most is usually the one with the least control in that moment. This doesn't mean silence is magic. It's a tool. And like any tool, it works when used intentionally. Here's where suspense comes in. Most people think the solution is to get better at talking. But the real shift happens when you get better at not talking. Silence changes dynamics because it forces the other person to reveal themselves, their patience, their confidence, their emotional control. And once revealed, power becomes clear. Now let's talk about how to actually use this rule without being awkward. Because there's a difference between calm silence and uncomfortable silence. The difference is intent. Calm silence looks relaxed. No fidgeting, no avoiding eye contact, no tension, just presence. Uncomfortable silence looks tense. People feel the difference immediately. Next time silence appears in a conversation, don't rush to kill it. Notice who moves first. Notice who speaks. Notice who starts explaining. That tells you everything. Here's a practical example. Someone challenges your idea. Instead of responding instantly, pause. 2 seconds. That pause does 3 things. It shows you're thinking. It shows you're not reactive. It shifts attention back to you. Then speak. Slowly. Another example. Someone asks you a question. You don't know speed. Pause. Let the question land. Answer when you're ready. Silence before an answer often feels more confident than a fast reply. Now here's the usable rule. Silence isn't empty. It's active. It applies pressure without force. People who control conversations don't control words. They control timing. Most people are afraid of silence because it feels like loss of connection. But silence doesn't break connection. It reveals who depends on it more. Once you stop fearing silence, conversations change. People listen more. They reveal more. They respect your pace. And here's the final takeaway. Silence makes people nervous because it removes certainty. And whoever is comfortable without certainty automatically holds more control. Next time, I'll break down the rule that explains why people test you before they respect you. And once you understand that one, you'll never take disrespect personally again.